Let's talk football. There's no reason for this. We just turned the mics on.
Come on.
Sal brought up last night on the podcast about whether if you were, granted, it's like a generic talk show segment, but it really got my brain turning about Josh Allen versus Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Mahomes, the resume versus what we're actually watching week to week, game to game, like the shit that he's doing, the shit when they're down 35-13 against the Rams, and you're just like, not turning this off. Nope. I feel like Josh can bring this back. Yeah. You've been on the Bills thing forever.
Yeah.
So is anything different this year, or are the toys better for him? Is it just the experience? What is it? What's different?
Between the ears, it's like the happiest he's ever been in his life, and I mean like in all different ways.
Is that a Stephon Diggs subtweet?
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's funny to think about. Like, can you even remember the last Bills loss? It's been so long before the Rams game.
Yeah.
They lost to the Texans that night, and the take was like, wow, Diggs got over on the Bills. And there was this viral moment of Diggs like side-eyeing him, and we haven't heard from Diggs since he got hurt, and Allen's taken over the world. But loves his offensive coordinator, never more comfortable, loves the guys in the room. And I don't think this is irrelevant. Like, he's engaged to a movie star and a pop star, and his personal life is out of control, like over the hill, over the moon, amazing. And he has a good run game and a good offensive line. Like, what do you want as a quarterback? My line's awesome. My running backs are awesome. I have like a really cool girl that I'm with, and like my receivers are cool guys. And I know they're not Calvin Johnson, but like they make plays for me. I think he's so happy and so confident. I think it's great.
Yeah, we joked last week on the fantasy pod that last week was Josh Allen's Apex Mountain, right? Engaged to Haley Steinfeld, had the big night game, whole thing. Yeah. Literally a week later, he already beat it. Even though he lost to the Rams, I would say this is his Apex Mountain. He had the greatest day in fantasy football history, basically, 52 points, and he locked up the MVP.
You think it's done?
Yeah.
I think he did, yeah. And
I can't count out Lamar yet for some reason, but I think it's like FanDuel would say it's done. It's like he's like a minus 500 favorite.
In a regular year, Lamar,
there's still a month
there's
left.
Lamar fatigue. He's already got it a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I listen, I want Saquon to win it bad. It'd just be cool. He would have to have the perfect campaign. Like, he'd have to break the Dixon record. He'd have to have the touchdown, everything. Allen just took it away.
I'm not sure it can be Saquon.
Really?
It's hard. 2 years ago, the Eagles made the Super Bowl with Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
I'm out. I did this last week. I'm out on the Saquon. I just think like,
I want it to. It would be cool, but awesome. I don't think they can do it.
This is the dumbest way to think about it, but I also think it's the best way to think about it. When somebody gets hurt, what happens to the line?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Josh Allen got hurt, the Bills line moves by 9 points.
Yes.
If Barkley gets hurt, the Eagles line moves by like 2.5 points.
Again, they were like the best team in the league with Miles Sanders 2 years ago.
Yeah. So that's what I hate, that it has to be a quarterback pretty much every year, unless the guy's having the most amazing season ever, or there's no like awesome quarterback. Right. But for the most part, this is it's like saying like, no, the pilot's not the MVP of this airplane. It's actually the third flight attendant. Got those peanuts.
She's killing it.
It's like, who's the MVP? The fucking pilot, because we're crashing if the pilot doesn't make out. Pilot.
But I think as the Allen thing, especially as it pertains to Mahomes, my concern is that Rams game, 20 years from now, when like you tell your kids, your grandkids about Josh Allen, like that's the Josh Allen experience. He's unbelievably cool superhero action star, and the Bills lose. Like,
right, and they have the dopey play with the QB sneak where they waste a timeout. Is that this era? Like, what are you doing?
Like, is he? I just worry that he's like Dominique Wilkins or something. Like, just so awesome, incredible talent. What did it amount to? He's even said it. He said it. I'm sick of winning T-shirts. He has a whole stack of T-shirts that are like division champ T-shirts, and he's like, I want to get them out of my closet. I don't want these anymore. That's what he's known for at this point. Because if they lose in the playoffs, this year to the Chiefs, what do you think if you're a Bills fan? Like, this Chiefs team sucks. We can't even beat this one. It's right. It's a big playoff.
That's why it'll be the Steelers that they lose to.
It might be. I know you're big on the Steelers right now.
I am stunned that the Steelers have not gotten more credit this year. I don't get it. I don't know what else they have to do.
I'm holding my breath a little bit. They have a really tough.
Steelers fan, I'm a Steelers fan. Super careful.
This is a tough 4-game stretch they're heading into. It's been pretty easy the last 4 weeks. Now they're Eagles, Chiefs, Bengals. No, Eagles, Chiefs, Bengals. It's a tough stretch.
But they're playing Christmas night too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Josh thing, the way you laid it out, really makes me think of Peyton Manning first half of the 2000s, where he had reached this point where he was the best regular season quarterback. He was the guy you would take first in fantasy, all that stuff. But you never felt like he was actually going to win. And then they end up winning in 2006, partly because the Pats choked away a 21-3 halftime lead.
In the Dome. Marlon Jackson interception sealed it. And it was like, holy shit, they beat Brady. And this is my test for the Chiefs right now. So we're picking away at all of them, and they barely win, and all their numbers are terrible, and the offense like looks legitimately bad except for one drive every game. Let's say they get the 1 seed, they get the bye. The division round, you're watching on your couch, and the Chiefs lose to Pittsburgh or Baltimore or Houston or something like that. Are you surprised? Because I'm shocked. I'll fall off my chair if they lose in the divisional round, even as bad as they've been. That's my respect for them.
I agree completely. It's every
You'd
week.
Be shocked?
I'd be shocked if the Chiefs lost. I was like, oh, if the Bills play the Chiefs again in the playoffs, this is what we see every year. The Bills beat Mahomes in the regular season. Mahomes beats Allen in the playoffs. It's the same thing every single year.
The problem for the Chiefs is sometimes you can pass the point of no return with weapons. Because, and I said this last time in the pod, like, this did happen to Brady a couple of times where, like, 2006, he was awesome. And we just had nobody. We had Lawrence Maroney as starting running back and Rashae Caldwell and Jabbar Gaffney and Ben Watson. It was like, we just didn't have enough weapons. When we needed third downs, there wasn't that one guy to get open. There wasn't that awesome running back. I don't think the Chiefs' weapons are that bad, but there's been some Brady seasons where he was better than the team. And I wonder with Mahomes this year, I thought he took a lot of hits on Sunday night.
Many.
It's so weird. I feel like last year was the year the Chiefs were supposed to lose, and then the criticisms would come. What did they go, 11-6? And it was like, this is what we were saying. You can't do this again. Not with these weapons.
Yeah, the Raiders killed them on Christmas.
Yes, it was like a super weird year.
Or should they have lost and Allen missed that one throw to Diggs? There was one other play. Like, if you really watch that game closely, it was kind of amazing the Bills didn't win that game.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knows what to do now that they come out of this weird 11-6 year where they shouldn't have won the Super Bowl, but they did. Right. And now they're 12-1, and they've won 16 straight games that were one score.
Yeah.
It's the most improbable run. I mean, can you think of anything like this in the last 20, 30 years in the NFL?
Nuts.
No, there were some weird Patriot years wondering like how we were doing it week after week. But this is different because they're almost adding this degree of difficulty to the wins. And I'm not a lucky person with football. I've never really bought into that because clearly they're good. Clearly, like the plays that he was making yesterday, especially in the last drive, that 3rd and 15 was crazy.
So cool. Yeah.
Right? The 3rd and 7, he's going to get it. So that's its own skill. I thought what concerned me if I was them was the Chargers, I thought, were really physical with them in the second half. Yeah. In a way that I don't remember seeing with the Chiefs.
Yes.
But you always felt like the Chiefs were going to lose. It was because they dropped a key third down pass or something. I thought the Chargers were like pushing them back.
Without their best running back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers are built like Michigan.
And without their best receiver.
No, definitely. I think the Chargers are going to win a playoff game. I like them still. I'm not jumping ship on the Chargers.
Yeah.
Without the best receiver, without the best running back, they play great defense.
So they'll be a 6 seed, right? They'll be whatever behind Baltimore, Pittsburgh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 seed would put them probably against either Buffalo or Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And I don't like that match. I don't like the Chargers. But the distinction, I think, with the Chiefs' weapons, it's like, I think there's having players that are just kind of average. But then there's having players who are just kind of average the way they're playing, who are made guys. Like DeAndre Hopkins and Kelsey, even Juju. Yeah. Those are guys who have been around, who've been in playoff games, who've won. Those are the guys who are like, oh shit, we turned on the division around. Kelsey had 9 catches and 2 touchdowns.
Right.
Like, they've done it. It's not average players who just suck and have never done it. These guys are all a friend of ours. You know what I mean? They can turn it on.
Well, that's why
I think they'll win.
That's why I'm so cautious with the Chiefs, because of the Kelsey keeping him in the garage with the tarp on thing.
Yeah.
Like, they're just clearly doing that. Yeah, we didn't see him for 2 hours in the game yesterday. And in fantasy, like, people are still paying for him in fantasy.
Yeah, he was still fringe first guy who went off the board in drafts. It was like him and Laporta.
But then you watch Bowers, although Tampa was able to take him out a little yesterday, and Bowers is just like Gronk crossed with Kelsey, crossed with like a sports movie tight end.
Yes. Easily number 1.
He's open all the times. He's just crushing everybody. And Kelsey could probably do that in January in round 2, but I don't think they're using that skill now. So I don't know. If I had to rank them, I honestly think Pittsburgh's the safest bet out of the 3 because of the defense.
More than Buffalo?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think they could beat Buffalo in Buffalo because they can get some explosive plays, but I think Buffalo has a better chance of beating KC. Because the thing with KC that I can't wrap, I feel like if you can get 24 and up on them points-wise, you're probably beating them, right? Buffalo beat them 30-21.
Yeah.
But Pittsburgh's more likely to play the 18-16, 19-16 type Kansas City game, which is better for KC. So I do feel like there's some rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah. I think Arthur Smith and Russ are really starting to work well, especially last week without Pickens, which I do think Tomlin held Pickens. I think Pickens could have played in that game. And I think they knew they had this gauntlet coming up. They held him against the Browns.
100% agree.
They were at home. I think that was a very smart move by Tomlin.
They knew they could beat Jameis.
There were more open guys in that game than there have been all season for Pittsburgh. So I do think Arthur Smith and Russ are really starting to gel. I just worry that in January, they're in Buffalo. They need to score 35 to beat the Bills. They're doing too high. They're taking off all the top end stuff for Russ. You really got to rely on like Najee Harris having a good game running the ball. And then if it's not Pickens, it gets real thin real quick. Yeah. I'm a little worried. I almost wonder if like they could muck it up with the Chiefs and win a game like 1917. That's where I feel like.
Yeah, but Kyle knows the way to beat the Bills is what the Rams did yesterday. You're just
Blake
5-yard run,
out of nowhere.
4-yard run, 7-yard run, 7-yard pass, 3-yard run, 5-yard.
You had Stafford
You're just chipping away.
Block a punt. You get it. Like you have this big play.
Yeah, big defensive play.
And then Jesus Christ, Nakua and Cooper were just doing anything they wanted. They looked bad.
I mean, Stafford, Nakua, and Puka is like the highest degree of difficulty offense in the league. Like it is so hard, but they do it because they're so good. And I'm like, I will.
But what
worry
did they run
bit.
for? The running game, I thought, was the most interesting part of that. Because
they
Buffalo, I wouldn't say they're like a giant defense.
No, not really.
Feels like you can push them backwards.
They thought that, okay, so Matt Milano's back now. Like he was their heart and soul of their defense. He's back there going to stop it. And Terrell Bernard's amazing in the middle. But like they did this Blake Corum thing that we haven't seen a lot of him this year. And then obviously Kyron. I have a little bit of a spicy take on the Bills-Rams thing. Is I actually think that loss was good for the Bills. And I'll tell you why. Like everybody was just on their nuts across the whole country because they did a lateral play and they won in the snow and they're the best team ever. They go across the country. They get their ass whipped a little bit. Now they play the Lions, which is one of the biggest games of the regular season. I think they need to have their shit humbled a little bit, just a little bit. They were such a darling for about 3 or 4 days, and then they weren't that good. And I think that get that loss out of the way now maybe and have a little bit of a wake-up call. I actually was not shocked that they lost that game because McVay is amazing. And when Kupp and Nakua are out there for the Rams this year, the Rams are 6-2. Like they're a very, very good team. And their defense is like super young, super doesn't give a crap. I'll hit Josh Allen late, talk shit to him, don't care. Like the Rams are, if I had to pick a team that holy shit, a team that's in the Super Bowl, I'd pick the Rams as like the holy shit team.
Your holy shit team?
My holy shit team is the Rams. Like that is a dark horse, Cinderella, all that. Like they have the quarterback. I think they have the best coach in football. And they have this crazy young defense who doesn't know that they're not supposed to be that good yet. They're my holy shit Super Bowl team.
I think the holy shit team has to be AFC.
Okay.
Just for me. But I like that pick. But I think
like the Chargers would be a holy shit.
I just think that Detroit Philly talent pedigree
it's good.
Is going to be really, especially if you have to go into Detroit round 2, round 3 and try to take those guys. Whereas the AFC, I don't really love any team. And I feel the best about Pittsburgh. I certainly wouldn't feel like awesome about Russell Wilson winning 3 straight playoff games, you know?
Yeah, and if this is the year to go against KC.
My holy shit playoff team would actually be the Chargers. Because
I'm with you on that.
They can block and they can chase the passer. And once we get into January, if you can just do those 2 things, make a couple plays, not turn the ball over and win a couple ugly games, that's what the Chiefs did last year. You know, I was really impressed by them yesterday. I think they're
the Chargers in a loss.
I thought they really handled the Chiefs defensive line. I was surprised. And like Herbert misses wide open touchdown, right?
Palmer,
He missed another guy like 35 yards down the field. Their running backs are among the worst in the league without Dobbins.
Yeah.
Gus Edwards and Vidal. Come on.
They're overachieving this year. Like it's impressive already what Harbaugh's done year
amazing.
one.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be kind of like, all right, we'll get our linemen. We build from the inside out, see what we got. We'll see what we have in Ladd McConkey. He's already one of the better rookie wide receivers in the league.
You know what's funny? We talk about football all the time. And we always look for these angles on what makes a team special, who's going to be the sleeper. This was the first year where I was like, all I care about are coaches and QBs.
Smart.
I did all my over-unders and I was like, if you have a coach or a QB, I'm not even worried that the Chargers don't have receivers. I'm going over. I'm picking them to make the playoffs. They have Harbaugh and Herbert.
Right. Doesn't matter.
That should be enough.
Yes.
Whereas like flip side, I don't know, Vegas, I don't understand their quarterback situation at all. I don't know where we're getting them. I'm out. And I wonder sometimes, is football just that simple? Is it all about the QB and the coach and the rest of it is like periphery?
Yeah, in retrospect, looking at Rodgers and Saleh, it's like, not that I like Robert Saleh.
Were you big on them, Craig?
Yeah, I think everybody was a little bit.
That was my big mistake. I had the Jets over Buffalo in the division. That was my biggest regret.
Yeah, my big
Rodgers is washed. Like he's, if you knew he was going to be the 41-year-old washed Rodgers, I wouldn't have picked that.
I know. My big thing in fantasy this year was like try to eliminate as much randomness as you can. Like only bet on things that you can depend on that you know are going to happen.
Coach and quarterback.
And then I just was completely blind to the Jets, like a 40-year-old quarterback coming off a torn Achilles. My biggest miss.
I got so deceived by all the Buffalo dead cap space stuff and transition year. They snookered me.
I think they snookered themselves. I don't even know if they expected this.
Yeah.
I really do think it was, all right, this will be a year and we'll lose in the wild card or whatever, but just Allen's been that good and the defense has been that good. Can I give you like a surprise disgruntled team right now?
Yeah.
I'm kind of with you. Like I have a couple friends and they're Philly guys and they're like beside themselves right now. They hate this team. They're like, we're going to lose. We're going to go one and done.
Oh, wow.
They're panicking.
But like 6 days ago, everybody was thinking Detroit's defense is so banged up. Philly, the season parted for Philly. That's how I was feeling.
The Eagles have won 9 in a row.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, Hurts doesn't have it. There's not. Their kicker keeps missing. That freaks people out. He can't make one from 50 plus. He hasn't made one all year. After this last game, the problem is, all right, they barely beat the Panthers. And people have to update their expectations of the Panthers. The Panthers aren't the Panthers of September. They're actually kind of good.
They're frisky.
Like they almost beat the Chiefs. Like, they're exactly frisky.
They had a 98-yard drive almost to win the game with 3 minutes left.
I mean, Bryce Young won that game. Leggett dropped it.
Yeah,
I know. And so Eagles fans are like, we suck. Like, first of all, the Panthers are pretty good. But then right after the game, A.J. Brown, after a win, the 9th in a row, they're like, AJ, what do you think you need to work on? He's passing. You got to get better at passing. Jesus, AJ, you won 9 in a row. Like, there's some issues with Hurts. And I think there's Eagles fans still don't totally believe in him. Just my friends. I think he's a really good player, but there's my friends. And I think also...
And they don't really believe in Sirianni either, right? So
definitely not.
QB
So coach and
coach.
quarterback. And also I think A.J. Brown is like, I'm tired of this Saquon shit. Like, we pass the ball the least in the whole team. They're ranked last in the league in pass attempts. They run it. They have an MVP running back. I don't know if he's liking that either.
This reminds me of, I was talking to an NBA.
There's 9 in a row they've won, and they're pissed.
Are they waiting for the collapse? Because remember, the Eagles were like 10-1 last year, but it was the weirdest Super Bowl hangover where everybody was miserable, but they were 10-1.
No, they're supposed to be good. Their defense is awesome.
It's amazing. They retooled immediately.
This was a theory I heard about the Nuggets. You made me think about like
Bad
AJ
vibes.
Brown being pissed. Like that. It was like, why isn't Jamal Murray playing better? It's like because Jokic does everything. This person I know was saying how NBA. It was just a theory. It's like those guys are tired of just being like Jokic's towel boys, and everything's Jokic. Oh, what a miracle it must be to play with Jokic. Oh, he gets all the stats. Yeah. And like Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. is, where's mine? I want you too. Because they already won a title.
So A.J. Brown's like, enough with the backwards hurdle. We get it. Enough with the Saquon shit.
Enough with the tush push.
I don't know.
It's probably easier when the star is the quarterback. When it's the running back, it probably rubs A.J. Brown the wrong way. He's like, I'm just as good as that guy. I can't play quarterback, but
it's true.
It's the running back? Really?
It's true.
I mean, counter, is there a wide receiver who's gruntled?
I know.
We have a lot of disgruntled receivers. Do we have gruntled receivers?
Jefferson always seems pretty gruntled.
Yeah.
Even when he wasn't putting up numbers.
He seemed happy for Addison.
Huge contract. Huge. Plays indoors. Like, everybody loves him. I think Jefferson's gruntled.
Do you buy Minnesota yet? I know that's been we for 3 months, all of us who do podcasts and content, we're all just assuming this was your classic Viking season where the stats say they should have been 9-8 and they went 14-3. But
every week. Let's have a Sam Darnold conversation. It's nuts. So my background in Sam Darnold is, okay, was supposed to be the number 1 overall pick, fell a little bit, Baker rises up and steal it. From that point, every single coach / guru, all the McVays and Shanahans and like Jordan Palmer types, they all swear that Sam's the man. Oh, Darnold's incredible. Darnold's got it. And as a fan, you're like, he mostly sucks every time we see him. It just feels like when someone keeps recommending the show, you got to watch the show. It's so good. It's so good. And you're like, it's not that good. They're like, watch another episode. I promise.
Like
watch another episode.
That was Schitt's Creek for me.
Yeah, you got to watch another. I'm like, dude, I'm on 3 seasons in. I don't like the show.
It's a sitcom. Yeah,
the show is finally amazing. And all those coaches were like, he's amazing. And yet, they may just cut bait with him this year.
Well, I was going to ask.
It says, I don't know.
What do they have to do in the playoffs where it becomes
question.
a problem for the Minnesota front office thinking, well, now what?
I said to
They're
Sal,
in the NFC Championship. What happens now?
I said to Sal on Sunday's pod, I don't know how they let him go at this point. Like when you have a quarterback that your team's built around these 2 awesome receivers that you have, right?
Yep.
You have a quarterback who's clearly clicking with them in a real way, who's made big plays over and over again down the stretch. why do I have to start JJ McCarthy next year? Why can't I just trade JJ McCarthy? He's the eighth. He was 7th or 8th pick. What was he? 7th? 7th pick.
I don't know where he was. Top 10.
I know he's coming off a torn ACL.
Yeah. But you loved him.
But you think like I'm trading him for a high second and I get to pay Sam Darnold. I think Sal and I went through all the teams that need quarterbacks. There's probably 4 legitimate plus maybe Seattle if they don't pay Geno, maybe Purdy. Sure. So 6 total.
Yeah.
I just think if I'm Vegas, I'm paying them.
They're like the anti-Chiefs because no matter how bad the Chiefs look, I think to myself, I'm still going to bet on Mahomes.
No matter how good the Vikings look.
It doesn't matter how good the Vikings look. I'm like, hey, in the playoffs, I'm going to bet against Sam Darnold.
Yeah, we did $1 million picks Thursday, and House was like imploring me to put the Vikings in a parlay. And I was just like, it looks too easy. Something's wrong. I don't make me nervous. Nobody likes Cousins. And we ended up doing it. And Falcons scored 7-0. And I'm texting House like, motherfucker, why did I listen to you, you fucking dick?
They were good early. Listen, same organization, Vikings, a few years back. They're in the NFC title game. Their quarterback is Case Keenum.
Right.
Killing it. Making miracles to Stephon Diggs. Like, oh my God, Keenum.
Yeah.
Moved on. Went to Cousins. It was the right move.
Yeah, but here's the difference with Darnold. If you're just talking about if I have a franchise quarterback, what do I want? Do I want size? Well, he has that escapability. He has that cannon arm, has that. Is he pretty good down the stretch or when you need him to make some plays? He's done that all year.
Also, he doesn't say shit. He's like a model citizen, great reputation.
Teammates like him.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's missing. I watch quarterbacks for 10 to 11 hours every Sunday, and most of them are bad. And he's actually pretty good.
The take is very insulting to him. Here's the take. Okay. You have Jefferson and Addison and Aaron Jones and Hawkinson and KOC's your coach. Of course you're succeeding.
Right. It's the Brock Purdy.
Yeah, we can put somebody in there. It's the Brock Purdy.
And you know how it's going to go because when he leaves and signs a 4-year, $160 million Daniel Jones contract somewhere else, he's not going to be good because it's the Kevin O'Connell system of making Josh Dobbs good for 3 weeks. And it seems like Kevin O'Connell is like the guru quarterback whisperer now. And I just know Darnold is going to go sign a deal with like, God forbid, the Giants or something and be terrible. It's going to happen.
And we've seen Cousins won 11-1 as the Vikings quarterback. And they won and they got to the play and they lost to Daniel Jones. So that's part of the reason why everyone's like, I don't know, Darnold. I feel like we've seen this shit before. That's why you're saying no matter how much they win, you don't believe in them because we could look up and they lose in the wild card round. Like, what was? But
we
that
said
for?
This about Baker last year, and then they signed him, and he's been good this year.
That's true.
The best thing with Darnold is how young he is. What is he like?
He's very
27,
young.
right?
If
I were them, I would try to sign him for like 100 for 4 years, something like that. Try to get him like 25 a year and then try to trade JJ McCarthy. But supposedly he hurt his ACL again. So maybe he doesn't even have the same. To me, that feels like the disaster. It's like we had this guy. Now we let him go because JJ's ready. And then what if JJ's not good? And those receivers are like, what the fuck?
I know.
Darnold had 40 touchdowns.
Imagine the other way, though. They trade their top 10 pick, JJ McCarthy, who goes off and has a great career. And then next year, Sam Darnold turns back into a pumpkin. And it's like one of the worst front office moves of all time.
Yeah. To your point, though, let's say the Vikings are like, we love Sam, but we have a very bright future for JJ. We want to be in bed. What is the line that the Vikings get to where they're like, well, we're in the Super Bowl. We can't get rid of Sam Darnold now.
Right.
Do they have to win it? I think you have to get to the Super Bowl. Because already Case Keenum was in the title game with them. They've already been that a few years ago. I think if he gets to the Super Bowl, I guess you're coming back.
You know, as a fan, I was in a situation once with a guy by the name of Tom Brady in 2001.
Yeah.
Bledsoe gets hurt. Brady keeps his job, and we're kind of like, is he going to be the starter? And we'll be like, oh, we'll see what happens. And all of a sudden he won the Super Bowl.
This is the first Tom Brady
getting traded.
The first Tom Brady, Sam Darnold comp.
Yeah. I never know.
Though. Yeah. I like it.
The thing is, Detroit's defense mess, and I don't see how it really gets better. Right. So at least there's a little bit of a hole there. Philly has all the chemistry stuff. Green Bay, I'm not sure I trust Jordan Love. And just in general, I wouldn't pencil them in. Like Minnesota can play with all of these teams.
Those 3 teams in the North, they're 28-3 outside of the North. They beat everybody. Like those teams are all
might be
really
the 3 best teams in the league.
They're up there. I think they're all top 5 teams. Who knows? They're 28-3 when they're not playing each other. So they kick the shit out of everybody. I think the Lions' defense's reputation is down right now because of what we just saw. I think they'll be better. I think they'll be back. I still think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I still think it's the Lions.
I would at gunpoint pick them as well, but I don't feel great about it. Mainly
Lions over Pittsburgh, you think, maybe? Or Chiefs?
No, I would still, life depends on it. I'm
Chiefs.
still doing Lions KC.
Yeah.
But I just think right now, mid-December, is it mid-December?
It is.
Well, yeah.
I think Pittsburgh is the most complete all-around team right now. I don't know what that's going to mean.
Where are you at with Russ? Isn't this weird for you to be saying
Russ,
that?
every
He's been
fucking
great.
week,
I know.
Russ makes 3 40-yard plays or gets a pass interference. There's a play that moves the ball 35 to 50 yards 3 times a game with him, and it happens every single week. And at some point, that's cool. What they do.
Yeah.
Whereas like the Chiefs get none of those plays. The Chiefs had 1 30-yard play to Hopkins and he dropped it. And it seemed like a miracle that they almost completed.
They look so bad.
Russ is cocky right now. He's doing this like,
he does. He's talking a lot of shit.
He gets down on one knee and like points to the side. Has he always done that? Or is that a new move?
I never saw it.
Yeah, he unveiled.
He does a lot of like running over to the sideline and barking at the OC and shit like that.
Have either of you, have you done the Russ pop culture comp? Like what this is? Because like I was doing it the other day with Peter. I think it's Travolta. And
the comeback.
Seattle was all of the 70s and 80s, and he's a superstar. He's the coolest rock star ever. Denver was look who's talking. It's pathetic. And then like 4-2, Mike Tomlin put him in, and it was just Pulp Fiction. And like he's like the coolest guy ever now and can't miss. It's an amazing.
I would go Lady Gaga.
You go Lady Gaga.
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Explain.
Really strong start.
Uh-huh.
Considered a diva pretty early on.
Yes.
Did some good stuff. Faded a little bit, and then A Star Is Born was her Pittsburgh.
That's big. That's the 4-2 Pittsburgh.
But then is it going to end with Joker 2? That would be a bummer.
Oh, yeah. Craig, you should have bring the house down.
That's next year. But I mean, you root for Russ every week.
Yeah.
He's surprisingly good. There's just no other way to say it. He's been doing this now for 2.5 months.
I'm enjoying it one week at a time. Yeah, it's
over
great.
and over and over again.
I'm not looking ahead. I'm not looking into the future. I'm just every week I'm having a good time. And
I always would think that Tomlin wouldn't be here for the Russ theatrics that we used to see.
Tomlin's good at that.
So affected. Like I guess he's
he
worked
likes
with
weird.
every problem.
Tomlin likes weird.
Yeah.
I mean, he works with Pickens, who's ready to start
Antonio
giant
Brown.
fight at the end of every game.
The list goes on and on.
Pickens is great.
The other thing with Pittsburgh, their kicker.
Yeah,
is there another kicker you feel better about during any playoff game in bad weather than Boswell? He's like the new Tucker. He lined up like a 54-yarder yesterday. He's making that.
He's been that guy. He's been the best offensive player in the Steelers for the last 5 years. I think he leads the league in points.
Tomlin, Boswell, I can't find the holes. It's really like who's going to be that second receiver on 3rd and 9.
I know.
But Mike Williams had a couple good plays yesterday.
Yeah.
And Freiermuth is like they're really good. They're an amazing team. It's like the Russ thing. You see comebacks like they suck, and you never see when someone's a superstar, then sucks, and then is a superstar again. The only ones I can think of are Kurt Warner, who went St. Louis
with Arizona,
and then the Giants, who's like just weird, and then Arizona to the Super Bowl again, and then even a slightly less version of that. Carson Palmer was with the Bengals. He was with the Raiders, and I don't even remember that. And then he was with Arizona and was also in a title game. But the good shit and then good again is really hard to pull off.
It especially happens with quarterbacks because it feels like the wrong offensive line, the wrong coach, the wrong team, and they could just get the shit kicked out of them for 2 years and just completely lose their confidence, right?
It's funny. Russ has never been paid the right amount based on what his talent is at the moment. Like when he was on Seattle, when he first got drafted, he kind of like started that new rookie quarterback model thing. Yeah. He was making like $700,000 a year and leading them to Super Bowls. Right. Then the Denver thing happens and he's making $43 million a year and he's terrible. Yes. And now he's great again on Pittsburgh making $1 million a year. I know Denver's still paying him, but and then he'll probably, I think the plan is, and I think this was what the Steelers envisioned the whole time, I think they are going to definitely re-sign Russ.
No question. They just don't want to pay more than 10 to 12, I'm guessing. They have a whole thing.
We also might get Pittsburgh, Denver in the playoffs. That'd be pretty fun.
You talked about the comeback, though, with him and how unusual that is. The other thing that's unusual for me, I always feel like quarterbacks hit that point of no return. It just doesn't seem like they want to get hit anymore, which Rodgers was clearly the last 7-8 weeks. It's like, that guy doesn't want to get hit anymore. Wilson last year to me just seemed like he didn't want to get hit anymore. That's why when he's a free agent this summer, I was just like, well, who cares? The guy doesn't, he's made enough money. He won a Super Bowl. He doesn't want it anymore.
I know.
But it seems like he's okay with getting hit again. So I don't know whether I just think Tomlin and Reed, to me, levitate over everybody else.
Coaches and quarterbacks.
Yeah.
When we do playoff picks to start the season, about 4 years ago, I learned this. I always pick Pittsburgh no matter what. Picked them this year to make the playoffs. And everyone's like, you're an idiot. They have no quarterback. I'm like, I know, but just always pick Pittsburgh. They get in the playoffs. Always. And I pick McVay now, too, every year, the Rams. just it's
that
those
was another one.
coaches.
That was another guy with the futures. I just did over on the Rams.
Yeah.
I get that they only have 7 players.
Doesn't matter.
But
just pick them.
as long as they have the QB and 2 receivers, they can move the ball. But
Yeah, we always joke that McVay is the chef on Chopped. And he's making bolognese out of mayonnaise. And and
who's your holy shit team? I have the Chargers. Kyle,
I have who did I say the Rams?
You said the Rams.
Holy shit! This team is in the Super Bowl.
Can I have the holy shit? This team. There's no way this team is going to make the Super Bowl, and it's the Houston Texans.
Okay. No,
you hate the Texans,
I hate
right?
the Texans.
No, they're not good.
The Texans are definitely going to play a Saturday playoff game like they always do, and it'll be at like 1 o'clock. And
everyone's going to pick whoever the other team is.
Yes, it's probably going to be the Chargers.
It's just going to be like that Browns game last year. Everyone's like Flacco.
Yeah, Slowick I think is super overrated. I think Stroud's in his own head, big brothering every quarterback at midfield, and it's completely failed on him.
Yeah.
Stroud's had a tough second half of the season.
Had a
great guy, I think.
The Ringer Fantasy Show hates Stroud big brothering.
One of the
Doesn't
most
understand
the Caleb moment.
The Caleb moment.
He's done it multiple times.
Yeah.
Who else did he do it to?
He did it with Drake May too.
Yeah, 3 straight weeks after the Caleb thing, and then he finally got off of it.
I missed the Drake May one.
Yeah, he's been terrible.
He's weighing in with his big picture thoughts on everyone he plays against, and it's like, dude, you're in your second year. Settle down.
Yeah.
I might go with the Chargers as well. Probably, I would say, just because of their ability to like play cold weather. Herbert's so good. The only thing with Herbert is I'm worried that he's going to get hurt sometimes. Herbert is almost too good of a player. I think he's kind of like the Puka Nacua of quarterbacks, where I'm like, you actually play the game with too much honor. You don't go out of bounds ever.
Yeah.
If there's a throw and Herbert needs to make it, and he knows he's going to get drilled, like he will get drilled to make the throw.
Nick Bolton put a huge hit on him in that Chiefs game.
Yeah, that leg hit, but he had to step in to make the throw. So I worry about that.
They're 8-5. Baltimore's 8-5. Denver's 8-5 for the 5, 6, 7. So the key for the Chargers would have to be to somehow get that 5 seed and try to play Houston. But I don't know how realistic that is with their schedule. But if they can somehow get, what do they have left?
That Houston's just dog shit on this.
Tampa, Denver home.
Oh, another 3rd and 10 in Houston. Great.
Yeah, a lot of
Tampa, Denver at home for the Chargers, then at Pats, home Vegas. Like they could sweep that.
Definitely.
And Baltimore, I think, is going to have a lot of trouble sweeping because they had that weird Christmas situation.
Isn't it crazy we've talked to playoffs this long? We haven't even mentioned the Ravens. Like
because we know they're going to be there.
I know, but what are they going to do when they get there? Like, I don't have them in the Super Bowl. Does anybody? Their stock's low now.
It's funny that people get mad about the January Lamar thing. It's like, okay, when is it not going to happen? Like, it's just until he doesn't do the January Lamar thing, that's the way it is. The Raven fans are very touchy about it.
Lamar media is weird.
Tua media is the worst, though. The Tua fan base.
Yeah,
the 2 people who think he was good yesterday, he was 23 for 37, no picks. It's like, all right, I watched the game.
Right.
Like, he had 10 terrible throws. Like, stop. I don't trust Tua.
Dolphins fans are frosty for sure.
No, the Tua, when I think of a Tua play in my head, it's Tyreek Hill turning around to catch an underthrown defense.
Who's your fantasy MVP this year, Craig?
Fantasy MVP. We all overthought Saquon so much. Him going in the second, and Derrick Henry, the 2 of them. Both of them going in the second round. Everybody was afraid of the veteran on the new team thing.
Now it's going to go the other way. Everyone's going to overvalue it in next year's draft.
It's also one of the most unusual fantasy seasons in history because of what happened with McCaffrey. That was so strange.
And Brees Hall, who just died of natural causes.
Also, just in general with fantasy, this is the healthiest running back season outside of McCaffrey, which that happened before the season kind of. In-season injuries for running backs, this has been the healthiest season in forever. And I think there's definitely, it was always get a wide receiver in the first round for the last 5 years. Next year, it's going to swing way back. Everyone's going to be back in on getting all these running backs in the first round. And it will probably regress back to the mean and like guys will start getting hurt again.
I'm in the camp of, and I have 3 teams, 2 that did badly and 1 that's doing well. But I just want to have a good QB. That's all I care about. Okay. I feel like I can patch together everything else, but like, anyone who has Lamar or Josh Allen or Burrow in any of these leagues, you're just like, fuck, that guy's probably going to win.
That's why you play fantasy, because of that Allen game against the Rams.
Yeah, right. 100%. The key point is getting a guy who can move. I'm so done with pocket passers. I drafted Goff, who's been good. He's been solid.
Stroud's like this too.
It's been so tough because you basically need 280 and 3 touchdowns out of Goff every single week just for him to get by. Lamar, Josh.
Kind of Mahomes has turned into that too for
Mahomes
different
terrible
reasons.
as a fantasy quarterback.
Probably one of
you can't start him.
He's the biggest bust at quarterback in fantasy this year.
Before we go, New York, because you're in New York, Giants versus Jets. which team is more down, which franchise fan base is more down in the dumps right now between those two?
I think the Jets fans are a little in shock, whereas the Giants fans are like, Like when I run into people on the street and they're like, "Oh, you're on the football show," and I go, "Yeah." And the thing I always say to them wherever I am, I'm like, "Oh, who's your team?" Cowboys, Texans. The Giants fans always go, "Yeah, Giants." Like they're so apologetic.
They've hit that point where they're apologizing?
It's been a while.
Oh, no.
Yeah. It's just like our show that we do on NFL Network started in 2016. Every single year, the Jets and Giants have sucked. They've always sucked. The only one that didn't suck was the Giants team when they went on the boat with the Odell thing. Like that's the only.
What about
glimpse.
the Danny Dimes playoff win in Minnesota?
That was a fever dream.
Yeah, but they were like 9-8 that year or whatever.
Team.
Yeah.
But so I think the Giants fans are like, we know we're terrible and we're embarrassed. I think the Jets fans were like, they bought some lottery tickets and before they won it, they like put a down payment on a mansion and a boat and they're like, I'm going to win this shit. And then match one number on their lottery ticket. And I think so. I think they're like, their mental health is in question and they're in shock. It sucks.
Yeah, it's tough because the Red Sox fans used to be like this too before we won the World Series, where it's this rare combination of fatalism and thinking things aren't going to go wrong. But then before the season, like this crazy optimism. Mm-hmm. It's like, how are these two things the same? Where it's like March spring training in 2000, be like, this is it.
Here we go
this year.
Got a great rotation.
The Vegas, the odds for the Boston team that could always put them down because they knew all these dumbasses would come from Massachusetts and bet it. And the Jets have those fans too that they actually think it's going to work out. And then there's people like Fantasy who's like, this is going to be a beautiful disaster.
Well, Sean had the best tweet ever.
Yeah.
The one he keeps retweeting about, it was the day that Jets Niners were going to play.
I love it.
I just want to go on record. I think this will be a complete disaster. Everyone will be fired and Rodgers will retire. And he's probably going to be right. That, like the Jets season.
It might have been the last great tweet.
It was a great tweet. We talked about that on our show. We even brought up Fantasy's tweet. But this season for the Jets is not like a D or a D. It is an F. It is as bad as it could go. Short of like a tragedy happened off the field. Like it is an F.
But they basically had 7 one-score games that they had the ball in the last 3 minutes, but somehow didn't win any of them. And I don't know how they fix it either.
Rodgers tried his best. He has that doc coming out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, Enigma.
You could see he was trying. I mean, he had his first 300-yard game as a Jet this week. He was on the press tour. He was trying to get viewers. Now what? A 3-11 Jets team? We're going to watch
the funniest thing, I watched that whole Jets-Miami game because I had Miami in a parlay.
Okay.
Miami was terrible the whole game. Okay. Like they looked like they didn't want to be there. Right. They looked like they were the team that was 3-10.
Rodgers looked good
and
for
the Jets were like into it. They were trying to win. They were moving the ball. Yeah. Their offense was better. Mm-hmm. And somehow Miami still won the game. And it was basically because the Jets, as usual, just fucked up completely with 3 minutes left.
F.
Pretty brutal.
Yes.
So what would you rate this season from A+ to F-? What's the grade for the season so far through 14 weeks?
Oh, just as a whole?
Yeah, just as a whole. For content, storylines, excitement, everything.
I think it's like a B+ because we have just some really good teams. Like I mentioned, that thing, the NFC North is fun. That Bills-Rams game we just watched was amazing. That Lions game against the Packers was 34-31. Like we've got some Rembrandts. We've got some, like when you say, what's the game of the year? We have like 8 or 9 games of the year. And I like that the quarterbacks aren't hurt. Like, that's really what I care about. Allen's out there, Mahomes out there, even Burrow on a losing team. Like you get to watch those guys. You don't have to turn on the Thursday nighter and it's Taylor Heineke versus Mitch Trubisky.
I mean, we did lose Aiden O'Connell.
We lost Aiden, but I heard it's not as bad as we thought.
Okay, good.
Coming back.
Maybe he'll be back.
A preventative air cast for Aiden O'Connell. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you have for a grade?
Probably A-.
See?
I think it's been really fun. I mean, the Lions storyline is amazing. I feel like everybody in America wants the Lions to win a Super Bowl.
Also, they're the rare public team that's actually really fun to watch every week. I genuinely enjoy watching their offense. When Jamar Gibbs is in the game, I'm like, I don't even have him on a fantasy team.
Yeah, you feel like
Jamar
you do.
Gibbs is in.
Yeah, you feel like you do.
The Goff storyline's great. The weird 12-1 Chiefs is fun. Saquon going to the Eagles and then maybe breaking the rushing record is unbelievable. I think it's been really, really fun year.
I would be at an A-, but the Drake May thing puts me at a solid A. I'm just out of my mind about how fun this Drake May thing's been. I can't believe he's this good already. I just can't believe it.
It is really cool.
It's crazy that he's this far along, and I've had terrible quarterbacks and I've had the greatest quarterback ever. Like, and I don't know if he's going to be even in the ballpark of somebody like Brady, but he's clearly a franchise guy. Like worst case scenario, I feel like he could at least be like Herbert.
All you care about is you got a guy.
We have a guy.
Who knows where to land?
We
got
football.
A guy. Well, I can't believe I did the B+ thing without mentioning. I mean, I think like there's 2 massive blemishes on the season. The Jets, just complete disaster. And the Bears. I mean, the Bears are a massive disappointment from start to finish. If the Jets are an F, the Bears are
I thought not new coach. I thought you guys bumped back. Oh no, that was the opposite.
You're supposed to get the bump. Yeah. Like the Saints got the bump with that guy.
The clogger bumped you back.
That Niners-Bears game was maybe the worst game of the year. I mean, it was an unbelievably terrible, pathetic game.
That was the only pick I lost, and it was over 5 minutes into the game.
You thought the Bears were going to win?
I did. I was like, new coach bump.
Definitely.
They figured out Caleb just getting rid of the ball fast.
Terrible. They were way worse than they were under Matt Eberflus. So think about that. Like they looked way worse. Like they should have brought Eberflus back. They would have had a better performance.
Well, it's like Eberflus leaves, the defense probably gets worse, and then you promote the guy running the offense, so now you have a different person running the offense.
Right.
Gets messy quick.
You get suckered by that though. Yeah, the locker room was so excited about the new guy, and they're going to be ready to play. They were so bad in that game.
Well, that was like when Antonio Pierce got the job, and they were smoking cigars after the first win, and then within 9 months, Devontae Adams is like, get me the fuck out of here.
I'm glad you brought that up.
The cigars.
Because like I have landed on this take, and I say it all, never hire an interim coach. I don't care what happens. The interim coach is, you get out of a miserable marriage. You're just so pissed, and you like the next girlfriend you meet, you fucking marry her. You don't take her to Cabo, you marry her. It never works out. Have her fling. Do it. Fine. She made me tuna salad. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Watch the Saints win a couple more games. And they're like, I don't know. This Darren Rizzi gets them to compete. Don't hire Darren Rizzi. Do respect
the only interim coach who actually should have been hired was Pit Boss Rich, the Raiders guy.
Oh,
Tom Cable?
Rich Bersuccia, whatever.
Oh, Bisaccia.
Yeah, Bisaccia.
Special teams coach.
Pit Boss Rich.
Bersuccia.
He'd come in with like, all right, guys, I'll be back in 20.
Damn right. Changing out 200 their car. They were in the playoffs that time.
Yeah, I like Pit Boss
And then
Rich.
now he's the special teams coach again. But no, don't ever hire the interim coach. You're marrying the fling after the marriage. It's terrible.
My dream is Drake May, year 2.
Yeah.
Vrabel. Brian Daboll, offensive coordinator. Let's go.
Who do you want to receive?
There's not a head coach opening though, Bill. What are you talking about?
Well, there might be if we lose these last 4 games. The problem is we're going to go to Arizona, and he's probably going to throw for like 360 and beat Arizona, and then May will keep his job.
Do you want a tackle or a wide receiver in the draft?
Thanks for asking. Because I've obviously studied a lot. My dad is now wading into the draft waters as well.
Okay.
Just finding out about this T-Mac character, this wide receiver.
Sure.
It doesn't feel like they're going to be a top 5 team, but there's no top 5 left tackle, which sets us up for the trade down, which I'd feel great about if we had an owner that wasn't 83 years old and we had an actual GM and not an interim GM. But it feels like they have to trade back. I'm in the camp of, I would take Hunter if we had the 3rd pick.
Really?
If he's there.
He just seems like he's going to be a superstar.
Over
I'm going to change my mind on this 100 times, but like, it just seems like sometimes these guys get in the draft and everybody's just like, that guy's special. And he just seems like that guy's special guy. You could have said this about Marvin Harrison last year, though, and he hasn't turned to be that special. But there's no left tackle. This is the one draft where there's like no, even like a Joe Alt.
Yeah. Probably not one worthy of a top 3 pick. No.
Who's the defensive line guy? There's like an awesome defensive tackle. That's another one. Like when does it goes wrong to have like an awesome defensive tackle? It's
fine.
Like,
Craig, have you had some takes on where Shedeur is going to go? Because
I mean, he certainly feels like a Raider to me.
The father-son Vegas thing feels like a layup.
Fit. It's so Raidersy.
What if the Giants get the number 1 pick? Because the worst fit of all time is the Mara family and the Sanders family.
Oh
that
my
feels
God.
Like not at all. But what if they get the number 1 pick and he's the guy? Raiders feels perfect. The Giants might get it though.
Well, they almost screwed it up yesterday, and then the kicker missed.
There was a conspiracy theory that Shedeur was tweeting "Thank you, Lord" every time the Raiders lost because he wanted to go to the Raiders. It happened for 11 weeks. It was perfect. Even when they were on a bye, he didn't tweet it that week.
Great.
But the Raiders, I think, won, and then he tweeted it, and so it turns out not true. But there was a while there where I was like, Shedeur and Dion are angling to get to Vegas.
It is the most fun destination for those guys.
Yeah.
It's because amazing. The team's a disaster every year anyway, so we might as well have the same.
And Bowers is sitting right there now. Like he's already has a stud. And like, let's just have a carnival. Make Dion the coach.
Yeah.
Why not? Have Shedeur be the quarterback. It'd be great content.
I had somebody who knows stuff tell me about the Pats. Like if that job did become available, they said, it's actually like a destination job now because of Drake May. I was like, I need a cigarette.
6 to midnight, Bill.
So just give me you have a lighter. I just need a cigarette. I just want to reflect this. But I think with Vegas, the fun part would just be having some sort of personality with that franchise.
Well, we had it in Pierce. Like, that's the guy. We smoke cigars. I won a Super Bowl. But he just looks miserable now because they hired the interim coach. You don't do that.
Right.
Can't do it.
I like your theory.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going A minus, B plus. Kyle Brandt.
Yes.
Great to see you as always.
Craig.
Thanks,
Bill,
Craig.
Pleasure.